And this is Terry Bean. Terry Bean, you have 21,000 followers on LinkedIn. I don't even know how anyone achieves that.
I don't know how I did
I
either.
looked at it last night. I'm like, 21,000? I thought I was rocking it at 1,000.
If you average it out, it's just 1,000 a year. I've been on LinkedIn basically since its inception. I started back in 2004.
Oh, God.
So people
Okay.
didn't even know LinkedIn existed back then.
They're
so
like, is that a dating
does that make you feel
app?
better?
It does.
It
does, yes.
I've been there a long time.
Yes, you have. Okay, so what is your official title?
Managing director is my official title on my paperwork, but I go by keynote speaker and growth coach.
All right, and that is why you are on today.
That's right. That's how I identify.
Yes, that's how. So, growth coach. And as we know, people go through different periods of their lives, right, where change is necessary. Sometimes it's forced. Sometimes you just embrace it. And I don't know, we do have, I'm happy to report, we do have a live audience here.
We do.
So that is one thing that has not changed. So I'm just going to ask a quick question. Who embraces change here? Okay. Who dreads change? That would be me.
That was a great idea to clap as
Right?
opposed to raise his hand
Right?
because
Thank you,
the
Jake.
audience,
Yeah,
well
thank you.
done.
Yeah. So they proof that they're here.
Yeah, I love that.
I need them all to hold up a newspaper with the date, right? Like hostage situation. Okay, so obviously, growth is painful.
Can be.
It can be, and change can be painful. We were on the phone the other day, and I said something about validation. Looking for validation in all the wrong places.
That was a great line,
Thank
and
you.
it sounded like a country song.
It did, didn't it?
It really had a vibe to it. Yes.
Thank you. So, so where do we start with this?
Where do we start? Well, listen, change only happens once you truly desire to make the change. And it gets so much easier when you recognize the need for it. Simon Sinek did a talk years ago called Start With Why. And when you line your whys to the change you want to make, it allows that to go so much smoother. Most people change because either, some catastrophic thing happened. They lost a job. They lost a loved one. They lost.
They're forced.
Yeah,
right?
They lost their
change.
mobility.
Right.
Those changes are painful regardless. But to those everyday changes, when we recognize that we're in a pattern, we're doing the same thing over and over again, we feel stuck, we get to make that change instantly. The reality is it all starts right here in our mind. And we have to envision a different future or a different present for ourselves.
So are you talking about like vision boards?
Vision boards are certainly a great part of it. Affirmations are a great part of it.
Okay, so it's funny. I've always wanted to do a vision board.
Okay,
Never done it.
Haven't done it yet.
You knew that.
Uh-huh.
Like affirmations, right? So you know that people write them on their mirror or they keep them on Post-it notes. And it's changing your mindset.
It's 100%. It's reprogramming our subconscious mind is what it's really doing, right? Because our subconscious mind, we have this thing that's called the reticular activating system. I don't want to get totally nerdy with you
Okay,
all,
please.
but there's this screen door between our conscious mind and our subconscious mind, because our conscious mind processes around the number of 40,000 thoughts per day. Our subconscious is in the billions per day,
Really?
right? The amount of stuff that we block out nonstop is incredible. Otherwise, we just collapse, right? So this reticular activating system is the screen that allows things from your subconscious mind to get into your conscious mind. It's the same reason when you buy a new car, you see that car everywhere. It's because,
what is up with that?
Yep, it's exactly it though, because all of a sudden, your subconscious mind says, well, this is obviously important, so I'm going to show them all the instances of it.
Really?
Whereas before you had no knowledge of it.
Right?
But it's now important, so you see it.
That is so funny because I got a new car. Well, it's been a couple months now. But Daisy just the other day said, oh, look, there's our car. There's another of our car. There, all of a sudden, she's like, I don't remember seeing all these cars that look like ours.
Yeah, and they were always there.
Wow,
They
that's
were
kind of
always
crazy.
there, but it
And they're
wasn't
always
important.
the same color.
Yeah, right.
And I
of
always walk
course.
to the wrong one in the parking structure.
Do you just start hitting
do,
the panic
yes.
button so you know which one to go to?
Yes, exactly.
Pop the trunk?
Yes. Funny story. So years ago, my mom's here, so I can tell this. So I used to live about 2 blocks away from our elementary school, my elementary school. And they had one of those horrible hornets. Do you know what the car I'm talking? It was like a
Oh
station
yeah,
wagon,
the
yellow,
AMC.
wood paneling. It was so horrible looking. And I mean, I walked to school and back. And one day it was raining and there was a Hornet parked outside. And I thought, oh, so sweet. My mom and dad picked me up from school. I get in the car. The guy looks at me and I'm like, you are not my dad. So I was like, what are the chances that there were 2 of those ugly cars? But see, it goes back to what you were saying.
It's exactly it. And you were so comfortable
I
with
was,
it that
right?
you
I
just
hop
walked
into the
right in.
Hornet.
He didn't even ask for candy or anything. You were hopping right in.
Or a puppy.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Okay, so back on track. With changing things, and some people have a hard time accepting change. I mean, especially if it's forced.
Yeah.
But when you kind of feel like you need it, I guess that's when you finally embrace it.
And the reality is we can change in an instant. Who we are right now is only a reflection of who we've been up until this moment. If you want to be somebody different, right, make the decision. And the word decide at its root means to cut off.
Really?
Right? Yep. That's exactly where it comes from. So cut off any other possibility and become that person. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of time for that reflection to change.
And habits
right?
to change, right?
And for people to notice. Right? So we have to change our behavior, which is directly tied to our choices.
Okay.
Right?
I feel like I need a piece of paper to write this down.
You're recording. We're going to be okay.
We're going to be okay.
You can see it again.
Exactly.
And once your behavior and your choices change, you start to develop different habits.
How long does that take? You hear 30 days, 60 days, 5 years.
So the science says, depending on the difficulty of the habit that you're trying to break and replace, anywhere from 3 weeks, 21 days, to 180 days.
Oh.
Right? So easy habits are a 3-week timeline.
Okay, so give me an example of an easy habit.
An easy habit.
Like not drinking coffee anymore?
Right. An easy habit might be portion control at a meal. Okay. Right? An easy habit might be stretching in the morning. An easy habit might be reviewing your affirmations in the day, right? Journaling is an easy habit to create, right? Quitting things that you've done for way too long, losing weight is an example of something that's a little more difficult.
Right.
Taking all the weeds out of our mind and replacing them with beautiful flowers and a lovely garden takes a little longer.
Do you like my shamrocks, by the way?
It's so fitting. It's so seasonal.
See?
Well, and you said it's like your living room, and I was wondering if those actually
This is not like my
from
living
the
room.
living room.
My mom's shaking her head. This is not like her living room.
Like the living room.
This is not like it at all.
So no shamrocks
No
in
shamrocks.
the Brooke Allen household?
Nope.
Not
No
yet.
shamrocks. Not yet.
Not yet.
Maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's switch it up a little bit and talk about relationships.
Okay.
Because we've had a discussion before a couple times too, as far as transactional relationships.
Ooh, yeah.
I know. I knew you were going to love talking about this. Okay, so explain what that is.
So a transactional relationship is where you do something for somebody because you want something out of them, right?
But doesn't everybody want something out of somebody?
It depends. And so want and expect are probably the key words, right? So yeah, everybody wants to get something off of someone, but if you're only doing something because you expect something in return, and then once they are no longer providing that something, you decide to cut that relationship off, that's exceedingly transactional.
Okay.
And it happens in business, and there are times when it's perfectly appropriate. If it's a one-time use product or service, a transactional relationship's what you expect.
Right, for sure.
Right?
It's a business agreement.
It's a business, yeah. I agree to give you money for this thing. We're good.
Okay.
Right? We don't have to worry about it. But if you're trying to build like an actual long-term relationship, it really shouldn't be transactional. You should be trying to figure out how to give, add value, serve other people, and not with the expectation of one for one, right? It's like sometimes I've done 4 things for you. And
there's
you
a tally, right?
Yeah, stop counting, right? That's the key. Don't keep track of those things in long-term progressive relationships.
Okay, so now let's talk about, I'm never letting you go. See, the clock is going. We got 17 minutes.
I think I could fill 17 minutes. I hope, as long as you ask the right questions.
Okay, all right, let's see. So what about failure?
Failures and
Failure in relationships, failure in business, failure in changes.
failure is a tough one, right? And 15, 16 years ago, I was at a software development house in Ann Arbor called Menlo Innovations.
Mhm.
They write program. And it was early on, and they're a very innovative company, more than just in the name. And on the wall, it said, fail faster.
Hmm.
It was literally typed in like 36 font on a piece of
Really?
printer paper.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing fancy, but fail faster. And I was like, what is that?
Right.
And they're like, we embrace failure here because failure is the only way to learn. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's like the needed step on a path to success. And so we've heard the acronym first attempt in learning.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. I really do. But I saw one the other day that I actually posted on LinkedIn to my 21,000 followers.
Show off.
Thanks for telling me that. I
You
don't
didn't know?
pay attention to that. No. But it stood for fall,
Mhm.
acknowledge, investigate,
Hmm.
learn, understand, realign, and evolve.
Wow.
And
I'd clap for you if I wasn't holding my coffee cup.
I really like that.
Come on, Jake, go ahead.
You were clapping just because I remembered it and didn't have to look at my notes.
I was like, oh, I think that's what was on his note behind the shamrock.
I do have a note behind the shamrock. That's true. I find that if I write something down, it actually helps me remember it, right? Because we're creating a different pathway in our brain,
Right.
as opposed to just reading it.
Right.
So I had to write it, and I had to stick it here very subtly so you could point it
Let
out.
me see it now.
Yeah, it's exactly what it says. Don't make fun of my handwriting.
Okay.
I did not.
Okay, I'm going to keep that.
I did not attend like Catholic school where I would have gotten wrapped on the wrist from a nun.
Right.
So I probably
So
needed
there's
some of
that.
that. Yeah, that would have been of value.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So in your career, and you're involved with TEDx Detroit. I mean, you do so much. In your career, how has failure affected you?
Failure for me is a stepping stone, right? And so
Was it always like that though?
I don't remember ever having an issue with it, right?
Really?
I've always been super adaptive to change.
Okay.
My life started off with change. I'm adopted, right? So
okay.
minute one was change,
Okay.
right? And adaptability. My parents got divorced when I was 4. So that was
Another
big change. I moved 3 states away when I was 11. That was a big change. And my mom tells the story of when I was about 1,
Mhm.
when I was learning to walk. She said that she would take my toys and move them 6 feet away.
Oh, so you would
So I would walk
walk
over there.
Yeah.
And she said, not you, you'd sit and play with your toes. So I'm like,
she's like, kid, I'm trying to entice you.
right?
Come on
And
now.
like, I didn't care. I'm like,
like,
I'm
whatever.
easy going. So change has always been just part of
Okay.
life, right? It's the one thing that is constant in
Mhm.
all of our lives. So the idea of not adapting to it always seemed kind of crazy to me, right? It's crazy making.
You make it sound so simple.
I'm a go with the flow kind of guy. Don't
Okay.
get me wrong. I am a visionary that sees where he wants to go.
Mhm.
And there's always going to be obstacles. Ryan Holiday, who has really done a great job of revitalizing Stoicism
Mhm.
and making it popular in the 21st century,
Right.
wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. Right. And
Mhm.
so when we really think
You're
about
looking
what
at me
that
like
means,
if I read that.
if I, no,
I did not read that.
No, I don't expect. Anybody read that? Anybody familiar with Ryan Holiday's work? Okay.
No, that's a
So
big
some
white
of you are going to be Googling this
Yes.
today
I'm gonna
or
be-
right
oh,
now.
Jake is doing it right
Jake's
now.
doing it. To be fair, I think I read that, but I listened to the rest of his books on Spotify.
Okay.
So I've become a really big audiobook guy because 1, I'm an auditory learner,
Mhm.
but 2, I'm not stuck having to read. I can be at the gym. I can be in the car. It's like turn your car into Drive Time University
Yep.
is such a good move.
It's so funny. So Erin, my favorite librarian, she's actually here today.
Very nice.
And she has, she's read, well, not read. She's listened to so many audiobooks. Her list is amazing.
I love
And,
that.
March is reading month, so I felt like I needed to say that.
Yeah, very nice.
See?
And Erin, the favorite librarian.
Yes,
I love that. That's poetic. It really is nice.
Hi, Erin.
It's fantastic.
So, okay, so you have always embraced change. Always embrace failure.
Always embrace it.
Okay, so what about success?
Scared the shit out of
Yeah,
that,
see, I
right? It
thought.
frightens me to no end. No, success changes, right?
Mhm.
The challenge for most people is if you think about, man, when I get this, right? Whether it's that amount of money, that relationship,
There's always
that
something, right?
opportunity, we get there, but before we actually land there, we move the goalpost,
I like
right?
the toy.
Yeah, it's exactly it.
Mhm.
We just keep moving it farther and farther. So we never really celebrate the wins along the way because we don't feel like we've arrived yet. And at some point, we have to change that, right?
Mhm.
We have to look at the little baby tiny wins,
Mhm.
whether it's you finally set that appointment, whether you had a great conversation, whether you met someone you really liked, and it's scientifically, it's harder for us to make friends as we age,
Right.
right? Harder to find people that align. But we have to look at all those things and like give a little self high five for the things that go well.
High
Or
five,
if you
man.
have someone near you, you can just high five them.
Yeah, I want everyone to high five each other.
Yeah, let's a little group high five. I love it. That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
That is awesome.
There's
That is
some
so
high five. Look what you started.
See, it's amazing.
It's so good.
Okay, so if you had one thing that you could say to somebody who was stuck, who wanted to change but just can't seem to get out of the mud, what would you say?
I'd ask them why this change is important, and I'd ask them to list those reasons. And then I'd ask them to paint a picture of what that ideal state looks like.
Mhm.
And they don't have to paint, right? I
Right,
don't
you're
need
not.
crayons.
Yes,
You don't
right.
even have to draw it, but just write a story about what that ideal state looks like. And then the goal is to figure out what the gaps are between where you are and where you want to be. And then you can actually develop a plan to get around those obstacles, right? Oh,
Mhm.
I need to get 15 pounds lighter. Okay, well, we know that exercise is important,
Mhm.
but we know that what you put in your face is even more important. So, what in your diet is messing with you, and how do you either reduce or eliminate those things, right? And
Mhm.
then stick to that plan.
You just got to stick to it,
You
right? I
have
mean, you just
to.
have to.
It's persistence and consistency that really matter. But again, without that ideal state picture, that
Mhm.
why,
Right?
that or well, that's more the what. Why this ideal state matters, right? Why getting here is important.
Mhm.
That's the driver that's going to keep you moving toward it.
Okay, awesome.